I give this speech at a sad time in our nation's history. A few months ago, as I'm sure many of you know, August 25th, 2012, Neil Armstrong, the modern hero and the first man to set foot on the moon, passed away. His passing serves as a cruel representation of our dying hopes of a future in space. It's been over 40 years since the Apollo 11 crew conquered those 200,000 miles that stand between the Earth and the moon, a feat that inspired so many of our nation's youth to put their dreams towards space. But today, hopes of going to Mars or to asteroids or even returning to the moon seem dim. NASA just cut its shuttle program. It flew its last mission recently due to budgetary concerns dealing with the economy. An understandable trade-off, of course, but it just goes to show how space seems to be slipping away. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, let it. What practical applications does space exploration provide us? We have jobs to fill, not moon craters to explore. Why should I care if there's life on Mars? I want to know if my country's going to fall into a second Great Depression. Understandable grievances, and I'll address some of these grievances in time, like how the opening of space and the avoidance of a second Great Depression could be quite linked. But I'll start by pointing to the decline in engineers over the past few decades. Now, I may be biased since this is the field that I intend to study. I actually just got, as Leah said, accepted into Texas A&M's aerospace engineering program. And I've always loved airplanes and spacecraft and such. So naturally, I'm going to tell you about all the great things about engineering. But the fact is that today's engineers were inspired by the feats of the astronauts of the 1980s and the 1970s. And they went on to invent everyday things that we enjoy. Wireless technology like your cell phone is all possible because of the space industry. And safer airlines, safer highways, defense technologies that keep our nation safe every day. So you see the dangers I'm talking about in decline of engineers, because all this is at stake. But people out there still think that spending all these billions of dollars of taxpayer money on space exploration is wasted. Despite all these practical applications arrived, I think it's wasted. And you know what? I actually agree with them. The great thing is that I can agree with these people and still be so excited in this industry that I actually want to make my career in it, because I know there's a better approach. And that approach is a privatization of the space industry. What if I told you that right now private enterprises are executing missions equal to what our government has been doing for the past decade? What if I told you that these enterprises can even go where governments overwhelmed by debt cannot? I'm talking about things like reaping profits from asteroids and sending people on suborbital tours of space, or even maintaining space hotels. Try working that one into Congress's budget. Now, I know what you're thinking. I listened to the last guy that told me I'd be flying my car to work in 20 years with a laser pistol in the glove compartment. There's no way any of this stuff is going to come true. But it's really not as far-fetched and not as far away as you might think. How many of you have heard of the company SpaceX? Well, you watched that lexicography speech, that's the amateur rocket scientist she was talking about. Yeah, so how fast, recently they took the job of the shuttle and they sent cargo up to the International Space Station. Now, how fast do y'all drive to work? Maybe 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, and your car weighs maybe, well, I hope not 80, but your car maybe weighs 2 tons. International Space Station weighs 500 tons, is traveling, at 17,000 miles per hour. 17,000 miles per hour. This company, under Elon Musk as the CEO, he led his company to build its own spacecraft called the Dragon spacecraft, launch this spacecraft on its own launch vehicle called the Falcon 9 launch vehicle, and under the command of its own mission control, docked its cargo with the International Space Station going 17,000 miles per hour, 300 kilometers above us. Those amateurs. This company has also lined up a very expensive launch manifest from satellite companies, satellite communications, satellite anything, and governments and other small companies with similar goals of conquering space. One of these companies is Robert Bigelow Aerospace, a company of 50 employees. This company builds advanced space stations with superior technologies and radiation shielding, because the astronauts are exposed to radiation that we don't get here on Earth, and also ballistic protection from flying space debris you might have heard about. And they've actually already sent a prototype up there. That's the prototype they sent, I think, in 2007, I believe. And now they've, actually their technologies are so advanced that they're in talks with NASA for developing future space stations that they plan to send up. And they've reserved a 2015 launch with SpaceX and to send their new space station up there, or new designs. They've even suggested using these space stations as space hotels, which is kind of out of there. I don't know. A lot of you probably wouldn't want to stay up in a space capsule. But, I mean, me personally, I think it wouldn't be. I think it'd be really exciting being up there. I will concede that one of the reasons this company is so small is because it had to cut a large percentage of its payroll due to financial difficulties, which allows me to make a very important point. A lot of these companies in these industries are struggling. No one said conquering space would be easy. We're talking about the space industry here with some of the highest cost of production of any industry in history. But you know what? Building a transcontinental railroad wasn't easy either. There were fortunes made and there were fortunes lost. And in the end, we still wound up connecting both of our nation's oceans. This is one of the beauties of our free enterprise system and why space's privatization is so important. That said, I'm going to move to more successful entities. Richard Branson has recently introduced a new company called Virgin Galactic. Now, Richard Branson is not only the billionaire owner of Virgin Group, but he's also a man with ambitious visions and goals for humans in space. Much like he had ambitious goals for owning one of the largest global conglomerates ever, and now does. This new company's goal is to send paying customers on tours into space. His company made history in 2004 when it became the first private company to send a man into space. This was done on the Spaceship One launch vehicle. Since that 2004 launch, they've booked 500 seats for people to take a tour, suborbital tour into space. Suborbital tour is just an arc, pretty much. So it's like a really, really big roller coaster ride into space. And it's really, that doesn't take anything away. It's, you still feel weightlessness. You'd see the Earth really small. It would be a remarkable experience. All for $200,000. Yeah. No, I know that's a lot, but it's much less than what the tourists had to pay before. They had to pay at least $20 million and at most $35 million. So obviously the price has been falling. Good prospect. All right. But perhaps the most exciting development to me, simply because it's economically beneficial, practical, and ambitious, is Planetary Resources, which is a company, goal to mine asteroids. This company has James Cameron, the director, who's also another a man with ambitious visions in space. He directed Avatar, which is a science fiction movie. I'm sure all of you saw that one. And then the company also has PhD this, PhD that, retired Air Force general, former Joint Chiefs of Staff, tons of rich investors everywhere, the kind of people that say they're going to do something and then get it done. Now this company says it's going to mine asteroids. And believe it or not, going to near-Earth asteroids is actually cheaper than going to the moon and is actually much more economically feasible and beneficial. Asteroids are rich in platinum group metals, which are really rare on Earth and vital in many industrial processes. They're used as catalysts. Popular use is in your car as a catalytic converter, which converts harmful emissions into water and things that don't harm the environment. And as countries like China or India grow and become more pressured to protect their environment, the demand for these minerals is only expected to go up. Estimates put that one 200-meter asteroid could have more platinum in it than we've mined in our entire history on Earth. The other great thing about asteroids is this stuff. This stuff is unbelievable, but believe it or not, this natural spring fresh water can actually be used as rocket fuel. And in space on asteroids are rich in ice, crystals. So it takes about $20,000 to send something of this weight into space. And if you could harness that water from space, you could reduce that cost dramatically. I mean, just imagine being able to go out there and actually take an asteroid, strap rockets on it, and move it, park it into Earth's orbit, bring it close to Earth, which is extraordinary in itself. And then, I mean, just think of all the jobs you could get, all the high-paying jobs. Talk about hazard pay. You're going to be working in space. And the thing is, these companies can afford it because the revenues are literally out of this world. You're talking about sending or adding trillions of dollars to global GDP. And the person who controls that power is going to be a very rich man, which is really good motivation. This is all so exciting to me because it's tangible. Whoops. People have always dreamed of conquering the final frontier. And now, like George Lucas, that was his vision. And now these visions are becoming a reality, and quickly I might add. With profit incentive, entrepreneurs will be motivated to take risks that maybe a legislative council like Congress wouldn't, because failure for Congress is bad campaigning. That's another great thing about the private sector. People take risks. And yes, they'll fail sometimes. Maybe they'll fail many times, but they often triumph. SpaceX and Elon Musk triumphed in one of these victories several weeks ago, as is Richard Branson, Robert Bigelow, a bunch of other companies. They've all had these successes that progress us towards the final frontier. I guess what I'm trying to communicate is the value that privatization of the space industry stands to bring. I hope this talk gives new perspectives to think about when you're dealing with investments. Some of these companies are going to be publicly trading soon, and politics, who you vote for. People's dreams depend on these investments. My dreams depend on these investments. Future jobs, our future civilization depend on people recognizing the very serious impact that privatization of the space industry stands to bring. So I encourage you to make bookmarks on your browser, maybe the Planetary Resources website so you can check on how the asteroid mining industry is going, or to Virgin Galactic so you can watch for the falling prices in space tourism. That could be you rocketing at 17,000 miles per hour and watching your familiar world morph into something completely different and probably 1,000 times more beautiful. I know I'll be the first one to sign up after the price goes down some 99% or so. Thank you very much.